India today has been reporting from the war front in Ukraine, and over the last 6 days we've shown you how the outskirts of Kiev have been smashed. Whether it is Irpin, whether it is Bucha, whether it is Brovary, whether it is Hostomel, the satellite towns of Kiev have been under attack, and India today's cameras have captured them. But that has changed dramatically, viewer, over the last 48 hours. And once again, India today's cameras have now captured that the heart of Kiev city, the Ukrainian capital, is under direct attack. It's not only happening on the outskirts, it's happening just a handful of kilometers away from where President Zelenskyy's presidential palace is actually. India today's Rajesh Pawar is in the capital city of Kiev, capturing the full extent of this fresh Russian attack that is no longer skirting around the capital. It is targeting inside Kiev itself. Take a look at this report. Russia breathing down Kiev's neck. Nearly 3 weeks into this invasion, Russian troops are ready to plot the fall of Ukraine's capital. Russian forces are now hitting at will, targeting crucial landmarks and the residential neighborhoods of what is now a largely deserted city.
There is a curfew in Kiev from tonight onwards. Nobody can move out unless you have a pass or some kind of documents to move out, because probably Russians are too close now and they cannot have people outside because they do not know who these people are. Therefore, to make sure that no Russian agent or any special forces agent is roaming around the city.
This residential tower in Kiev, just a few kilometers from President Zelenskyy's official residence, was smoldering moments after being hit.
You can see fire there. Fire, this tender has been working for last 2 hours, but still a lot of apartment blocks are still burning. See, Russian forces are still a little far away. I mean, the nearest advance which they have made towards Kiev, they are still about 12 to 13 kilometers away. But now the whole Kiev city is within the artillery range. They can fire at will anywhere on any building in Kiev city.
Это ужасно, это неправильно, все должны жить в мире.
Ты хочу это стоп? Да? Ты хочу the war stop?
Please stop.
She says war is really bad. They are not able to live peacefully. ये आराम से नहीं रह पा रहे हैं. ये war इनके लिए खराब है. और ये कौन चाहते हैं कि लड़ाई किसी लिए रुक जाए.
Dramatic images of missiles raining fire in civilian zones in Kiev have surfaced, showing residents fleeing for life after a huge strike was caught on CCTV cameras. Russian drones were seen pummeling targets around Kiev. The attack drones taking off from airstrips under Russian control for sorties to pound the capital. On Monday, Russian shelling was also seen at several residential areas, setting them on fire. The sprawling Antonov aviation plant saw a huge plume of smoke on Monday and was on fire after being hit in a Russian airstrike on Monday. The punitive daytime strikes come after huge barrages of overnight shelling, which has left raging fires in key suburbs of the deserted city. With every diminishing resistance by the Ukraine army, this phase of the war marks a decisive shift in Russia's favor. With Rajesh Pawar deep inside the war zone of Kiev, Bureau Report, India Today. And joining us live from Kiev is Anna Basova. She's a local journalist. Also live from Lviv is India Today's Gaurav Sawant, who's been leading our coverage from the war front in Kiev and elsewhere. Anna, quickly coming to you first. The images that we've been getting from Kiev suggest that the attacks are happening just a few kilometers away from where President Zelenskyy currently is. It's no longer happening just on the outskirts of Kiev. It's happening in your city now.
Well, first of all, I will strongly oppose the information given. It's not for the first time. Kiev has been already shelled and has been shelled numerous times. It was just a break, a week-long break or 10-day break, and now they have regained shelling. The first shellings in the residential area were dated in the end of February. Secondly, Yes, a couple of kilometers away from one of the shelling places, the presidential office is situated, but no one knows where he actually is. And I wouldn't be so certain, affirming that he's staying inside that building. I'm pretty sure they're hiding in more secret places. As for me, yes, I woke up at 5 a.m. in the morning from bombing sounds, and my car, the signalization of my car turned on because the heat wave came. But it was quite far from me. I just heard the noise. It happened in, there were three shellings, three places where the rockets fell. Two were on the right bank of the Dnieper River and one was on the left bank. The one on the left bank, that I heard. But it was far away from me, so I'm safe, my friends are safe, that's it. But I repeat and I stress, it's not for the first time, and it's not that Russia is coming closer and closer. It's just that they repeated hitting residential areas. It doesn't mean Russian progress. I stress on it, and I declare it to whole India and all your target audience. Russia is not progressing.
Okay, they're not progressing, but this appears to be the closest that they have hit, compared to where the city center and the presidential palace is. Rajesh Pawar also continues to be with us from Kiev. Your point is noted, Anna. We'll come back to you in just a moment. Rajesh, you've been reporting from some of those areas that have been shelled, as Anna pointed out, that were shelled earlier. There was a bit of a break. Now they've been shelled again. What are you hearing? Are things getting closer, to the city center? Is there a pattern you're seeing, Rajesh, to the attacks that are taking place in the capital city?
Certainly, Shiv. Certainly, they are getting worse and closer to Kiev. See, I have been all around the city, have been to all borders of the city here in all four directions. As we have been reporting for last few days, northeast, northwest, both sides, Russian forces are closing in. Northeast, not so much at the moment as we speak, but northwest, certainly, they are pretty close now. They are just 11 kilometers away from the outskirts of the city. And this bomb blast, your previous guest was talking about, 2 bomb blasts, even I woke up with them, and they're very close to me. I could hear the vibrations, and that's how I woke up in the morning. And I visited those sites. The report I've sent of this burning building, that was one shell, second shell fell on the road, which I visited today. It is right in the middle of a very broad road and a huge crater there right now, a bomb crater formed there because of the missile or the bomb falling there. These were probably 2 cruise missiles which is hit. And before this, I would like to say we have had some more bombs falling, which I sent report about 10 days back when we were with those sites which were shown by the Ukrainian government to us, took us around, reporters from almost 50 to 60 countries. But most of the shelling before this on Kiev, today and yesterday, before this, has been on military targets and targets of dual use like airport and other storage depots. But this is the first time we are seeing that a deliberate targeting on 2 consecutive days of civilian areas, one yesterday in Oblon and today in this academic hall district today morning.
Okay,
Shiv.
the academic hall, the educational district after that big residential neighborhood. Gaurav Sawant also, was in Kiev when some of that shelling was actually taking place. Gaurav, Anna says it's not getting closer, but there is a sense that it is. What are you hearing? Because President Zelenskyy has been coming out. He's been putting out messages. You and, Rajesh have been reporting from areas around Kiev that have been shelled. Between yesterday and today, the reports that your team has sent us has also shown that they've been happening inside Kiev, not very far from the city center and the presidential palace.
Shiv, the battle very certainly is coming much closer. And the fact that additional soldiers from across Ukraine are now rushing and redeploying in and around Kiev is an indication that the battle is coming much closer to the Ukrainian capital. Yesterday, we saw special trains bringing in troops into Kiev. We saw additional tanks and armored personnel carriers and anti-aircraft guns moving in inside and around Kiev. So when this happens, the next battle or the preparation for the next round of the battle is for the national capital. We are seeing what's happening in Kharkiv, Kharkiv. We're seeing what's happened in Kherson already, where they've successfully turned the mayor in their favor in Kherson, and the administration is changed in Kharkiv. We are looking at shelling that is taking place. We are looking at Mariupol, where Russian tanks are already inside the city. So the flanks, whether it's the south or in the Donbass region, and the blockade of the Black Sea by the Russian Black Sea fleet is an indicator of what's happening in the fringes or on the borders of this country. What you see now in Kiev is additional troops moving in and taking position. Areas that were so far held by the militia are now being held by the Ukrainian army with their ATGMs, with their SAMs, and with all the additional paraphernalia that they require. Additional, surface-to-air missiles, both tracked and wheeled, now moving in and around Kiev is an indication of the battle moving much closer. Where we are in Lviv, the location where I am right now, Shiv, you've had a memorial service just moments ago for the 35 brave Ukrainian soldiers who were killed in action in a Russian missile strike. Russia, of course, claims that 180 foreign mercenaries were killed here, but Ukraine insists that they were 35 soldiers undergoing training. So a memorial service for them was organized just moments ago, and now those, people here, as you repeatedly hear air raid sirens, people here are also bracing for that battle to move to the center of Kiev and then westwards, because this is where the supply routes are.
See, the thing about India Today's coverage, as Rajesh and our team, Geeta, Rajesh, Gaurav, and all of our reporters on the ground have shown, is that we're not reporting this war second-hand. I hope our viewers know that. We're not reporting this war second-hand. We're reporting from Kiev and other cities through our cameras. So this is not second-hand information that we're reporting. So when we make a claim and as we report it live here on television, it's with a great deal of responsibility that only first-hand reporting can actually tell you. Let me show you, for instance, where these attacks are taking place. As Anna correctly pointed out, these attacks have been taking place for a while. There's been a lull, and now Kiev is back in focus. Just look at how close things are. As the Ukraine war now enters day 20, Russian troops are continuing their advance towards the capital from the outskirts, but the attacks are happening inside the city. Let me show you the exact location where Putin's missiles and shells are now landing. Obolon, where Rajesh was reporting from yesterday, it's a residential district in Kiev. Viewers, Obolon is a district that is under attack. It's just about 10 kilometers away from the presidential palace, the main office of the National Security and the Defense Council. 10 kilometers is nothing for any kind of weaponry in this day and age. This is the place from where President Zelenskyy is believed to be churning out all his messages, his war strategies with his cabinet. Now, Russian missiles hit a residential building 10 kilometers away from President Zelenskyy's location. Now we'll show you how first-hand India Today reporting has mapped and charted how things are actually getting a little closer. Moscow's been bombarding Kiev's suburbs, its satellite towns in the larger metropolitan area, including in Irpin. Hair-raising videos by Rajesh from there, from Bucha and Brovary, where Gaurav has reported on the shelling that has taken place from there. In Hostomel, we were the first team on site to show you the airstrikes that took place in Hostomel. These are the cities around Kiev, actually suburbs of Kiev. But now, this has dramatically changed in the last 48 hours, where Russian missiles and shells are landing inside Kiev city. Inside Kiev city, just a few kilometers away from the city center as well as the presidential palace. Kiev, this is now going to be a very, very dramatically escalating situation unless a ceasefire is agreed upon very, very soon. Kiev could perhaps fall to Russian forces if things continue the way they're going right now. Rajesh, you've seen firsthand almost all of the sites in Kiev which have come under attack in the last 48 hours. What is your sense, Rajesh? Are the Russians in a position to take over? Could Kiev, it's a big city, it's not a small city like many others, but is Kiev in a position to actually fall to Russian control? Is that even a foreseeable possibility right now, Rajesh?
Look, Shiv, as you rightly said, that we have been covering it everywhere, live on ground, not going by any news agency or anybody else. Let me tell you, even today morning, we were the first news channel to reach there, even before a lot of renowned international channels. I won't name them, but we were the first ones to reach this spot where this missile hit today morning. So we have been verifying everything, reporting what exactly is the truth, not to be swayed by what is coming in other media. Let me tell you, Russians might be inching closer to Kiev, but Kiev is not going to fall so easily. Kiev is going to resist and fight back. Why I say this is, if you notice the progress the Russian troops have made in last 1 week, it has been very slow. And the reason for that is heavily built up area. And as soon as they clear that, which will still take some more time, Irpin might be largely in control of Russian troops, but not entirely.
Yeah.
Until the time that Irpin's area is not totally cleared of any fighters from Ukrainian side, they cannot bring in the supplies, they cannot bring in the logistics column behind it. And till the time that doesn't happen, a full-fledged attack on Kiev is not possible. On the other side, we see on the northwest, Grovry area, again, only Russian armored reach there, not the infantry, not the other equipment. So that access is also still not open. But yes, they are inching closer. And as they come on the outskirts of the city, the fight is going to be much more intense.
It is going to become...
This fight is going to be the mother of all the battles here. Kiev will not fall so easily. Everything has been fortified. Everything has been reinforced. There are barriers every 20 meters in the city. People in the residential blocks have been supplied with automatic weapons. This city is going to resist, and this is going to be all the mother of all the battles. If it ever happens, 21st century has witnessed so far.
This is, this is an ominous forecast by a Special Forces veteran who's on the ground, who's had combat experience and is watching this unfold, firsthand. Both Gaurav and Rajesh looking at this firsthand as it unfolds in front of their cameras. Rajesh and Gaurav, continue to be with me. We've got some breaking news coming in now. More dramatic images are pouring in. Okay, the latest claim. Remember, this is a war not just of what's happening on the ground, but also of claims. Ukrainian officials now claim that Russian troops began shelling in the city of Kharkiv, close to the Russian border, while civilians were being evacuated. And they've put out this video to support their claim that Russian shelling has been taking place during a humanitarian evacuation from a neighborhood in Kharkiv, which continues to be one of the most attacked cities in Ukraine. It's also the second largest city in Ukraine. Let's just listen into this video once again. Ukraine's latest claim, shelling during evacuation. Here you're looking at right now has just been put out by the Ukrainian government. Remember, many claims and counterclaims being made, but this is the latest. It comes in from Kharkiv. Gaurav, I want to bring you in on this. You and Rajesh have reported from all of these cities over the last few days. But Gaurav, a dramatic video of, an elderly person being evacuated from one of the, destroyed neighborhoods of Kharkiv. And right at that moment, some shells appear to land in the distance and there is panic and they moved away. Ukraine basically claiming that shelling is taking place during a human evacuation. Gaurav, what are you hearing? Kharkiv mein.
Shiv, the information we have is that despite a green corridor, there was shelling, and in fact some people have just been rescued from the rubble. Apparently 7 people have just been rescued from the rubble and debris of a building where a missile struck in Kharkiv. And this was at a time when a green corridor had been cleared for people to be quickly evacuated, especially the non-combatants, the elderly. So this video has been very widely circulated by the government here in Ukraine, where they're saying that Russia is not respecting the green corridor or humanitarian evacuation that had been agreed to by all sides. Shiv, if you'd recall, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also referred to this, why evacuation of Indian students from Sumy was a big challenge, because it had to take intervention at the highest level, as Dr. Jaishankar said, by the Prime Minister, speaking both to President Zelenskyy and President Putin to ensure that that humanitarian corridor was not only cleared but followed by both sides for Indian students to be evacuated. And the moment that doesn't happen, you see images like these. And Shiv, on the question of Kiev, if I quickly may, yesterday we had a very detailed conversation with one of the operational commanders on ground, and he said that their tactics were very clear. If the Russians try to come in, they will be permitted to come in, and then they would be cut, they would be slaughtered, in his words, for the simple reason that the way they have planned the defenses of Kiev in the past 20 days. Remember, this is day 20 of battle, and they've had ample time to prepare and bring their logistics in place, including replenishments of resources. So they have their main ammunition, and then they have their second and third line already in place, is what I was given to believe. And they're saying that some of these areas, some of these checkpoints and checkposts that have been created, even if the Russian columns manage to come in, the remaining columns will not be able to fetch up, and these columns may just be isolated and bridges blown up to prevent and protect this city. So tactically and strategically, a lot has been done in the past 20 days to ensure that at least ground forces do not come in. Airborne forces is a different story, where they have the surface-to-air missiles ready, and protection of President Zelenskyy, altogether a different ball game here.
Okay, Gaurav, stay with me. Rajesh, very quickly coming to you now. Both of you reporters confirming that things are getting more intense. They're coming closer. You're sensing there's going to be a big flare-up. You're calling it the mother of all battles. It's going to be big. For someone on the ground to say that, is a very big deal. Can you describe for us what you're expecting to see, Rajesh? Because, with these missiles and shells landing so close, to the heart of the city, as it were, in Kiev, what kind of combat are you expecting? Is it going to be, entire places flattened? Is it going to be street fighting? What are you expecting to see?
Look, Shiv, it is very difficult to guess exactly what Russians are going to do. If you have observed things in the past 10 days, their strategy is a little different. They are thinking out of the box. They are not going by very conventional strategies practiced by many armies around the world. They are going in a very different way. If you see in the east and south of Ukraine, they had a very different strategy. They straight away went for the value targets, be it Chernobyl, be it the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, be the hydro power plants. They went for value targets straight away. Then they went capturing the territory around the cities. They captured a lot of big, huge territories in the east and south of Ukraine, but did not enter the cities, except for Kherson and a little bit, you can say, about Kharkiv. They did not enter the cities. They just surrounded the cities, captured a landmass around them, and kept moving on. So they are going by very unconventional strategy. Difficult to guess what they're going to do, but my guess is they are not going to threaten the city until things go really bad, and that will be much later in the war. But they are not going to threaten the city. They are going to target such buildings. It is possible that they're targeting these buildings because they have some kind of intelligence that some kind of people related to military or militia are housed in those buildings. Could be one reason. And second reason could be that probably this is a technical failure. Maybe missiles are not so accurate as we expected them to be. Thirdly, it could be a deliberate targeting. So very difficult to say what it is. But as far as Kiev is concerned, another strategy which Russians can deploy is cutting off the power, because they control a lot of power generation of Kiev, of Ukraine right now. There is a possibility that they might cut off the whole city from electricity, water, supplies, and then put the siege around the city and wait for it to surrender or to go for assault much later when it will be much more weakened. But I don't think Russian forces will just barge in inside with the tanks and the city, or flatten it with the air raids and missiles. I don't think so.
Okay, and this comes at a time when President Zelenskyy has put out a video claiming huge Russian losses. It's going to be a considered and deliberate a progression of this military operation that today stands on day 20. Gaurav and Rajesh, for the moment, thanks very much, gentlemen, for joining me. Stay safe where you are. Both of you continue to be in the war zone and India's most watched reporters in Ukraine at this time. Air raid sirens have been sounded in the city of Lviv in western Ukraine. Residents came out of their homes in the city earlier today. India Today's Geeta Mohan is also on the ground. She sent us this report from Lviv.
There has been an air raid alert here in Lviv, and that's the reason why you'll see a lot of people out in the open. They've come here. There is a bomb shelter right across in the Lviv forum, and so they're all waiting over here. There's a long queue. A lot of people have gone in. A lot of people still waiting outside, since there were 3 sirens that were sounded out, and right now a lot of people waiting to see what's really going to happen. A lot of people have experienced these air raid sirens. I have a couple over here who are from Kiev, and have moved to Lviv only to be in safety. But there are air raids over here as well. Are you all here because of the air raid siren?
Yes, maybe 20 minutes ago we heard yes, Sorana and go out to...
For how long do you stay out? 1 hour or 20?
No, 20 minutes.
Oh.
About 20 minutes. No.
Okay, so they're not sure, but you know, in the beginning maybe they followed rules and stayed out for 1 hour, but because it has become repetitive, their time of staying out has reduced. Now they stay for 25 minutes, 30 minutes. She insists on an hour, but the gentleman over here says not more than 20 minutes. But it is serious. It is serious because a lot of people have moved homes. They've moved out of their cities. This couple over here moved from Kiev. No work. They're here living at their parents in Lviv. But it certainly is a scare for many others. If you see across, a lot of people are now out in the open, only waiting to see whether if they can go back in to their homes into safety, or whether they should actually seek real safety and go to a bomb shelter. In Lviv, Geeta Mohan for India Today.
For 20 days, Putin's war machine has stalked the president of Ukraine. On each of those days, on the last 20 days, Zelenskyy has been putting video after video, communicating with the world and telling them what's going on. Today, he put out a video saying that he has inflicted massive damage on the Russian forces. Well, the truth is that the Russian forces are now quite literally at his doorstep. Just a few kilometers away, Russian weapons are landing. The tremors most certainly are being felt at Mr. Zelensky's presidential palace. The question is, what happens next? What happens when the hunters finally reach the hunted? As he walks amidst the tremors of his besieged city, the once distant thunder of the Russian war machine is now closing in and fast. Commanding the final defense of Ukraine's capital, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is now less than 8 kilometers away from where Russian weapons are landing.
This is a fire tender working here, but still there is fire. It's been burning for last 2.5 hours since it was struck by a missile in the morning today at 4:30 to 5 local time. The complete building has been destroyed, and there was another blast which I saw just before this. It was in the middle of a road. Nearby buildings were damaged. Now the whole Kiev city is within the artillery range. It is like about 10 kilometers away from the city center, but it is quite close to Irpin where the fighting was taking place, and maybe just about 10 kilometers from the front lines and 10 kilometers from the center.
Zelensky's fortress of Kiev has been breached, with the shockwaves of Putin's shells now quaking the presidential palace. Once restricted to the satellite suburbs of the city, the firepower of Putin's war machine is barely 3 kilometers from the once bustling city center now.
Range of the medium artillery and the multi-barrel rocket launchers which Russian forces have, the entire city is within their range now.
The hunted Ukrainian president is aware that the man who stalks him with an enormous military machine is sniffing an endgame in the heart of the country's capital. And as tension spreads in Kiev, he has spoken out once again.
Наші хоробрі захисники продовжують завдавати російським військам.
Soon the numbers of downed helicopters of Russia will reach hundreds of units. They have already lost 80 warplanes, hundreds of tanks and thousands of other units of equipment.
Танків, тисячі інших одиниць техніки.
Leaving in their wake a trail of damage, debris and devastation, the Russian forces are training their weapons ever closer to the man they wish to topple as Ukraine's head of state. The man who continues to defy President Putin in what is emerging to be a last stand battle. With peace talks between Ukraine and Russia meandering and the devastation piling up every minute, will Putin's army be at President Zelensky's doorstep next? And if they get him, what will they do with him? The world is watching. With Rajesh Pawar in Kiev, Ukraine, Bureau Report, India Today. Now, the United States, meanwhile, has warned China after intense talks not to help Russia in its invasion of Ukraine. So if you've been wondering about what the China angle is in all of this, watch this report.
Tight security outside this hotel in Rome marked the high-stakes diplomacy inside. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan pressed Washington's message on a Chinese diplomat, asking Beijing not to take additional actions to support Moscow amid the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The White House described the 7-hour sit-down between Sullivan and Yang Jiechi as intense, reflecting what it called the gravity of the moment. Sullivan warned China of the economic penalties and global isolation it would face if it continues to support Russia in its invasion of Ukraine. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
Should they provide military or other assistance that, of course, violates sanctions or supports the war effort, that there will be significant consequences. But in terms of what those specifics look like, we would coordinate with our partners and allies to make that determination.
Psaki said the meeting had been scheduled for some time, adding,
it was a timely and important moment to have this conversation.
It took place as the U.S. told allies in NATO that China had signaled its willingness to provide military and economic aid to Russia to support its war. But China on Monday said reports of such a request from Russia was merely U.S. disinformation. Russia, too, denied it had asked China for military assistance and said it had sufficient military clout to fulfill all of its aims in Ukraine. U.S. officials and allies have tried to make clear to Beijing in recent weeks that siding with Russia could carry consequences for trade flows, development of new technologies, and could expose it to secondary sanctions. China, a key trading partner of Russia, has refused to call Moscow's actions an invasion, although China's President Xi Jinping last week did call for maximum restraint and expressed concern about the impact of Western sanctions on the global economy.